What's up, everyone? This is your host, Ghost, coming to you live with another wonderful video. How is everyone doing today? This is a recording as I am busy today, this morning where I would normally stream. So, this is a recorded video. Hope you guys still enjoy it regardless. We're going to talk about day 13 of the Trump trial. Stormy Daniels is the one who ends up testifying. Not sure what happens. There's, some news about it on Twitter and stuff, but we'll see what happens here as I read the CNN live update. Before we get to it, just some housekeeping. Follow me on X at officialwghost. That is the best way to find out when I go live and see whatever various other tweets I am doing. Also, check out my main channel, rumble.com/withghost. That is the best way to find any of my videos, as no matter what, I will always be on Rumble. Unless it disappears, which, hopefully never. And then YouTube is youtube.com/@withghost, and twitch.tv/officialwithghost is for Twitch, of course. So those are my various channels. My gaming channels is on Rumble is Gaming with Ghost, and then on YouTube is @officialgamingwithghost. So that is how you find me there when I do my gaming. Yesterday, I didn't do a stream because, one, I had to get up early today, and two, because I was busy doing this recording. So I couldn't have done the the gaming, unfortunately, which sucks. But it is what it is. What can you do? So, I think that's all I got. Can't really think of anything else. A little outside news. It looks like Rumble is now banned in Russia because they are not yielding to censorship, which proves that Rumble is the last bastion of free speech and is not allowing themselves to be bullied just so they could continue to work in certain countries that want to ban them. So, make sure that you support Rumble. Go on there, support it, and buy some stock, because Rumble's going to go up eventually. It's going to take a bit, but Rumble's going to go up. So, yeah. All right, let's get into it. Let's check out Stormy Daniels and her testimony. I believe someone else testifies before her, and then it's Stormy Daniels. So let's get into it. All right, I know. Boom, another camera angle. How do I do that? Hold on, I'm trying to figure out. I had this another whatever. We'll just do it this way. All right, so it's courts. Everyone's in court. Trump's attorney whispering to former president. Blanche is whispering to Trump as Hoffinger talks about what they will elicit from Daniels on the witness stand. Judge says Judge Merchant, said he agreed with Trump's attorneys that Stormy Daniels has credibility issues, but that's why the prosecutors need to be given a chance to establish her credibility. He says it's fine to elicit that Trump and Stormy Daniels had sex. That's fine, but we don't need to know the details. I want to see if there's anything that happened prior. Okay. All right. So there's nothing prior. So they must have had this discussion prior, either, where, and CNN didn't update that or whatever. Let's see. Jury's entered the courtroom. Next witness is executive managing editor of Publishing Group. So Sally Franklin, the senior vice president and executive managing editor for Penguin Random House Publishing Group, was called to the stand. She's being questioned by Prosecutor Mangold. Franklin is testifying as a records custodian pursuant to a subpoena. Trump is leaning back, closing his eyes as Franklin starts testifying. Mangold asks if she's familiar with any books titled Trump How to Get Rich and Trump Think Like a Billionaire. When the first book title was named, Trump looked over towards Franklin. The exhibits Franklin is being used to introduce are experts from the books. The jury is now being shown cover of Trump How to Get Rich. Trump leaned over, said something to his attorney, Nichols, when the cover of the book appeared. What percentage of the cover is the word Trump? Mangold asked. Franklin says it looks like it's about 30% of the cover. Okay? What the fuck? How is this important? All right. The jury is now being shown an internal page of Trump's book, Trump, How to Get Rich. Mangold asked Franklin to read a line from the book. I am the chairman and president of the Trump Organization. I like saying that because it means a great deal to me. The expert reads, for many years, I've said if someone screws you, you screw them back. It goes on to say, like it says in the Bible, an eye for an eye. When someone hurts you, just go after them as viciously, as violently as you can, the expert continues. Is this really important to the case? Like, really? Is this really important to the case? We are again, I want to point this out. This case is about mislabeled banking records. So what this case is actually about. So what does that have to do with anything? What does excerpts from Trump's book have to do with mislabeled banking records? Like, I mean, they're obviously trying to make, Trump, he's just a vicious, evil, vindictive person. Obviously, that's trying to get for it. But what does that have to do with anything when it comes to this case? Prosecutors are entering excerpts from Trump's book into evidence. Here are some of those excerpts. Chapter titled of this excerpt is Sometimes You Still Have to Screw Them. Another excerpt enters, says, 3 p.m., Alan Weisenberg, my CFO, comes in for a meeting. He's been with me for 30 years and keeps a handle on everything. Another excerpt reads into record, all the women on The Apprentice flirted with me, consciously or unconsciously. That's to be expected. A sexual dynamic is always present between people unless you are asexual. Prosecutors have now moved on to another Trump book, Trump, Think Like a Billionaire, Everything You Need to Know About Success, Real Estate, and Life. Here's a look at some of the excerpts they're now going over. When you're working with a decorator, make sure to ask to see all the invoices. A portion of the book text reads, decorators are by nature honest people, but you should be double checking regardless. In a chapter called How to Pinch Pennies, the book reads, I received a check of 50 cents and we at the Trump Organization deposited. They may call that cheap. I call it watching the bottom line. Penny pinching, you bet I'm all for it. As I said before, I always sign my checks so I know where my money is going. Another excerpt reads, in the same spirit, I also always try to read my bills to make sure I'm not being overcharged. Okay, well, there's a key, always try. Another excerpt from the chapter, How to Decide How Much Risk to Assume When Investing reads, pay attention to the small numbers in your finances, such as percentages and cents. Numbers that seem trivial add up, and having enormous implications. My parents hammered frugality into me at an early age, and it's an important money management skill a person can use. Call it penny pinching if you want. I call it financial smart. You need to watch the bottom line. Weiselberg, my chief financial officer, has to be one of the toughest people in the business when it comes to money. Franklin reads from the chapter on how to decide how much risk to assume. So this is just the prosecution's attempt to try and, show, hey, Trump, he knows everything that's going on. He's, he listen to what he says. He's the one who's, basically they're trying to use these excerpts to try and show that, hey, Trump is has his hand in this completely, whether we have the evidence for it or not. It's what these excerpts are really about. But it's just, this is the factor that comes in, the fact that he was running a campaign and then eventually became president doesn't, causes, a fact, because there's only so much a human mind can handle. So, I mean, just because, he can write this down, but then when it comes to running a company, but then also running for president, campaigning with all that stress that goes and all that goes into that, and then finally become president, can you effectively still manage your company? Probably not. Jury is seeing a new chapter, How to Stay on Top of Your Finances. This chapter recounts the story McConney former Trump Organization controller, told on the stand yesterday, and how Trump once pretended to fire him as a teaching moment. I told him I didn't want excuses. I thought he was doing a lousy job managing my cash, always question invoices, and never accept a contractor's first bid. Negotiate, negotiate, or get out, the text of the book reads. The last part of the expert about McConney reads, Jeff got the message and has been with me for 17 years. Is doing a terrific job. He looks out for my bottom line as if the money were his own. All right. Blanche has started cross-examination of Franklin, who works for the publishing group. His first question is asking if the co-author of Trump How to Get Rich was a ghostwriter. I'm not exactly sure how much she contributed. All I know is she helped our primary author in some way, Franklin testified. Blanche is asking Franklin about the role of a ghostwriter who shares a byline with Trump for both books, in what appears to be an effort to distance Trump from the words the jury just heard. Okay. Mangle is asking the witness another round of questions again after the defense completed cross-examination. The lawyers are at a bench after the objection. Mangold asks Franklin if ghostwriters ever write an entire book without the author's knowledge. No, Franklin responds. Ghostwriter works for the author, Franklin adds. Let's see. The exhibits are accepted into evidence. When Blanche returns to the table, he whispers something to Trump. An excerpt in the page in Trump bears a quote from Mary Trump, Trump's mother. Sally Franklin says, "Trust in God and be true to yourself," is attributed to Mary Trump. A quote from Trump follows. When I look back, that was great advice, concise, and wise at once. I didn't really get it at first, because it sounded good, I stuck to it. Later, I realized how comprehensive this is. How to keep your bases covered while thinking about the big picture. It's good advice, no matter what your business or lifestyle. DJT. Franklin says these quotes are typically written by the author, not the ghostwriter. On redirect, Mangold highlights portions that would be written by Trump, not the ghostwriter. Trump chose the title of his book according to an excerpt of the introduction shown to the jury. That's what I decided to call it, because whenever I meet people, that's usually what they want to know about me. You ask a baker how he makes bread. You ask a billionaire how he makes money. Again, what is, like, okay, I guess it kind of has some relevance, I guess, when you're trying to tie Trump to the whole mislabeling of business records. But, I mean, again, we're balancing this with also trying to remember that at the same time that, all this was happening, he was also running a campaign and campaigning for the president of the United States. Like, and that, you would think, prosecutors think you're stupid and think you'll ignore the fact that Trump was running for president at the time. And that has a lot of effect on being able to effectively manage many things when it comes to your business. Well, whatever. Mangold also walks Franklin through the acknowledgement page of Trump's book, where the former president calls his ghostwriter, Meredith McClelve, a writer of many talents who worked as an executive assistant at the Trump Organization, stationed at a desk outside my office. As you know, my door is always open, so Meredith has heard everything. She's taken good notes. She's done a remarkable job of helping me put my thoughts and experience on paper. I am tremendously grateful to her. It continued. Let's see. Jury saw additional quotes on a page from Trump Think Like a Billionaire, including one on the epigraph. Page from Donald Trump's father. Know everything you can about what you're doing. My father, Fred Trump. Franklin is reading another excerpt from Trump Think Like a Billionaire. Here's something else about God that any billionaire knows. He's is in the details. You need to be there too. I couldn't run a business any other way, the book reads. No details too small to consider. I even tried to sign as many checks as possible. For me, there's nothing worse than a computer signing checks, the book continues. When you sign a check yourself, you see what's going on inside your business. If people see your signature on the bottom of the check, they know you're watching them. They screw you less because they have proof that you care about the details. And again, here's a little caveat here. I even try to sign as many checks as possible. So that means right there, he can't sign every check possible. But whatever. Redirect is over. Blanche is up again with another round of questions. At least 3 jurors were seen writing in their notepads. And of course, we don't get to see what those questions were. Interesting. Franklin is off the stand. Meanwhile, judge has called the lawyers to the bench. Let's see. Franklin testified for 46 minutes. Oh, God. This is Daniels? Man, she does not look good. Someone should have taken gotten some plastic surgery. This is interesting. Stormy Daniels' testimony in the hush money trial against Trump may not necessarily help prosecutors in terms of key charges in the case. She's a colorful witness. She was the center of these hush money payments, but I want to be realistic in terms of what she offers the prosecution. Daniels will be able to testify about the affair with Trump, which he has denied, and talk about the renewed interest in her story in late October 2016 after the Access Hollywood tape. She can help bolster the prosecutor's argument that suppressing her story was done to help Trump win the White House as well, Reed notes. But what she can't help is the actual charges at the heart of this case, which are 34 counts of falsifying business records, Reed said. She doesn't have any knowledge of how Conan was reimbursed by the Trump organization. So it's clear this is certainly a blockbuster day just in terms of historical significance, but Daniels is unlikely to be able to make or break the prosecution's case. She's honestly very useless. There's no real point of having her come, except, just to get a dig at Trump. That's all this really is. The fucking whore. The porn star. She says she prefers Stormy Daniels instead of Stephanie Clifford. Yeah, her porn star name. You know why she prefers? Let's make this clear. You know why she prefers Stormy Daniels over Stephanie Clifford? Because people know her as Stormy Daniels, the porn star, not Stephanie Clifford. That's why. All right. So Daniels said she is testifying because she was subpoenaed. She speaks quickly and is turning towards the jury as she answers questions. Prosecutor Hoffinger, is beginning by asking Daniels about her background, even down to what clubs and hobbies she had in high school. Daniels says she was editor of my high school paper and in the 4-H club because I love horses. Yeah, I bet you do. My mother was very neglectful. She would disappear for days at a time. When she was 17, she moved out. Again, what does this have anything to do with her? To do with anything? Daniels is speaking quickly, giving the court reporter a bit of trouble. Hoffinger asked her to slow down. Daniels says she got into exotic dancing by accident. Her friend told her she was a dancer, which she thought was the same style she did, which was ballet, jazz, and tap. I was wrong. She was an exotic dancer. Through dancing, Daniels said she could make more in 2 nights than I could shoveling manure 8 hours a day. Daniels said she started nude modeling at 21. She told the court while working at the club they had traveling entertainers come in, and she decided she wanted to do that. Daniels is testifying that you have to have a reason to be the headliner and explains that the way to do that is to pose for magazines or do competitions or adult movies. Daniels says contests are a real thing. You literally win Miss Nude North America, she says. She says she says she was 21 when she started posing for magazines. Hoffinger asked Daniels, did there come a time when you also worked in the adult film industry? Yes, Daniels says. Daniels is explaining how she got into the adult film industry. I was honestly kind of scared to do it. A friend said, I'll do it with you. Just do one. You can say you've done it and it will bump up your pay grade. She says. Daniel says she won 11 Best Director Awards and 2 Best Screenplays for porn. Does it really matter? Come on. Daniels appears very relaxed on the stand, leaning on the chair's arm, gesturing as she speaks, laughing casually as she recounts her work experience. Daniels was again asked to slow down because she's speaking very quickly. Daniels says she has written a book called Full Disclosure and is in the process of finishing up 2 books set to come out next year. No one cares. Daniels is now listed the main stream movies she appeared in, including 40-Year-Old Virgin and Knocked Up. Really? I saw 40-Year-Old Virgin. I don't remember seeing her in there. Was she really in there? Hold on. I remember seeing that, and I don't remember seeing her in the movie. Oh, what am I doing here? Let's make this easy. 40-Year-Old Virgin. I don't know why I'm trying to. All right, let's see. Cast. So she played Storm. So she was in 40-Year-Old Virgin. You know what she played? A porn star. So she played what she does already. Like, what the fuck is this? She wanted to like make this sound like, oh, this is, I'm so awesome. But like she played a porn star that the main character, Steve Carell, watches her in the video Space Nuts episode 69, Unholy Union, and tries dreaming of her. That's pretty much her role. Very, very minor role. Very unimportant role. Danielle says she also has a podcast called Beyond the Norm, and she said it's everything that is beyond the norm while looking at the jury. The jury is not reacting to her laughs and at times blunt testimony. Yeah, they don't really care. Daniels asked if she discussed Trump on her podcast, specifically regarding politics. Yes, of course, she says. Daniels says she no longer hosts the podcast because she was fired. I was reluctant to just continue talking about the one narrative, this case, she says. Daniels is now talking about a draft Stormy campaign for Senate in Louisiana against former Senator Dave Vitter, even though she wasn't serious about running for Senate. David Vitter never actually would debate me, she says. You probably would lose because you probably have no idea what you're talking about. Hoffinger is now directing her questioning to July of 2006. Daniel said she was working at a celebrity golf tournament in Lake Tahoe. She was still working for an adult film picture company. Daniels testified that she met Trump at the tournament. It was a very brief encounter, she said. She cracked a joke about the adult film company's sponsorship of one of the holes of the golf course. The jury did not laugh. Trump denied the affair with Daniels. Daniels said all she knew about Trump is that he was a golfer and had a reality show that I've never seen called Celebrity Apprentice. Bullshit. I am willing to call bullshit. I bet you knew exactly who he was. She was 27 at the time of the meeting. He was old. She said. Daniel says that she was introduced to him as a director. You direct too. You must be the smart one. She says he told her. Daniel says he was as old or older than my father. Daniel said she added her father was 60. I mean, did you even know your father? Daniel says she later saw Trump in the gift room at the tournament. Later at the gift shop, she says Trump remembered her, and he remembered me specifically that I was the smart one, she said, putting her hand in air quotes. Okay, sure. Hoffinger asked Daniels to identify Trump in the courtroom. She darts her head around the witness stand, then spots him Daniels pointed and says he's in a navy blue jacket. Trump appeared to look in her direction as she pointed to him, but made no visible reaction. Here's another CNN expert. Daniels will testify about how her story became more valuable during the 2016 election cycle, and that will be the key to the hush money case. No, it won't actually, because the key of the case is falsifying business records, not hush money. Like not catch and kill. It's falsifying business records. So, potentially, if they had labeled them correctly, Trump would not be in this situation at all. Because there's no other charges besides the false document case or the false business records case. So that's not correct. This isn't the key to the hush money case or key to this trial. It's not. Right now, the prosecutors are establishing the fact that Daniels interacted with Trump on various occasions. Yes, they only had sex once, but there was multiple times where they would meet up, that they would talk on the phone, and that were promises that she'd be on The Apprentice. So, later on in the testimony, Daniels is expected to discuss that when came a time to negotiate this NDA, and she'll talk about how she tried to sell the story years before, but there was no market for it. But then around the time of the election, that's when it became much more valuable to her, to Trump, to be able to sell her story. So I think it's the key. No, it's really not. Because again, Trump's not being charged with buying and killing stories. He's not being charged with that. No one's been charged with that. The charges are 34 counts of mislabeling, or falsifying business records. Okay. Now, if there was an added charge of buying stories to kill them, then maybe this would be a key. But it's not really. It's really not. This Karen, shocking, is a fucking idiot. All right, jury is being shown a photo of Daniels next to Trump. He's wearing a yellow golf shirt and red hat. Trump is shuffling papers in front of him as the photos is shown on the screen for jurors. Let's see. Trump's bodyguard, Keith Schuyler, asked Daniels if she would have dinner with Trump. She testifies, F no. Daniels says she replied, bullshit. She was then asked to clarify because she said softly. Daniels says no, but with an expletive in front. Yeah, I doubt that. When Daniels speaks of Trump, she's calling him Mr. Trump. Jury is seeing the photo. It is a photo of Mr. Trump on the golf course, Daniels says of the photo. Daniels says after she declined Trump's dinner invitation, his bodyguard, Keith Schuyler, took her cell phone number and then messaged her. Let's see. Jury is seeing a photo of Schuyler's contact entry in her phone. He's saved as Keith Trump. Daniel says that the contact was Keith Trump because she didn't know Schuyler's last name at the time and he worked for Trump. I do that a lot to help identify contacts, she says. She said she had another dinner, but her publicist encouraged her to go to dinner with Trump. What could possibly go wrong? Daniels recount her publicist telling her, giggling as she spoke on the stand. Daniels says that she's trying to get out of the dinner with everyone from her company, and that was the reason her publicist encouraged her to go to dinner with Trump instead. So I arrived. I went upstairs. Keith had given me very specific instructions to take a certain elevator to the penthouse. I did so. I went up to that level. That's where I met Keith, who was waiting for me outside the door, Daniels testified. Hoffinger once again asks Daniels to slow down for the court reporter. She continues to talk quickly as she recounts her story. Now, this could be potentially a sign that she is lying because she is trying to say it so quickly and get it out so she can't really be, stopped and all that stuff. That could be, could be an indicator. Who knows? Daniels described her dinner with Trump, saying the hotel room was cracked open when she got there. She says she walked right in. Keith or Schuyler, Trump's bodyguard, told her Trump was waiting for her. She says, I didn't really have any expectations. Okay, sure. Daniel says, noting that Schuyler told her they'd meet at the hotel, they could go then downstairs, as there were lots of restaurants in the area. That was my only expectation, she says. Sure. Sure, you went out to just pursuing or presuming that this story is actually true. Yeah, you were just thinking, oh, I'm just gonna go and have dinner with this guy, but I'm going up to his penthouse instead of meeting him in the restaurant first. Yeah, okay. Daniel said she called Trump's name as she arrived at the hotel suite. I called his name. I said hello. He came from one of the main areas of the hotel suite. She testified. Trump was wearing satin pajamas. She added, and she immediately made fun of him. Sure, you did. Does Mr. Hefner know you stole his pajamas? Daniel said, confirming that she was referring to Playboy magazine founder Hugh Hefner. Sorry. She told Trump to change. Daniel said he returned wearing a dress shirt and dress pants. Daniel said the foyer of the penthouse suite had black and white tile and a big, beautiful wooden table in the middle. She said there was flowers on the table. I don't believe any of this story. Do you? Daniels is often looking at the jury as she testified, describing the hotel room in detail. Daniels is using her hands expressively as she outlined the setting and where things were in the hotel room. Daniels has a very controversial, conversational, and casual tone, but she's speaking very quickly. The prosecution has asked her to slow down at least 4 times so the court reporter can keep up. Daniels is describing how it was not yet dark outside when she arrived at the hotel for dinner with Trump. She says she recalls Trump saying it was a bit early. Do you mind talking just a bit to get to know each other? Daniels recalls Trump asking. I just don't believe her story. I told him where I grew up. He asked about my family. Do I have brothers and sisters? I don't, Daniel says. Thank God. Did you talk to him about all the conditions of your childhood? Hoffinger asked. Absolutely, Daniel says. Yeah, again, no, you're not going to meet a total stranger and talk about everything that happened in your childhood. That's complete and utter bullshit. Come on. That doesn't even make sense. That's such bullshit. Daniel says Trump asked whether she had children, was married, or had a boyfriend. She says she told him she did not. Daniels is testifying that Trump inquired about her work and how she got involved in the adult entertainment business. He asked how I got involved in the adult entertainment business. He was very interested as I segued from just being a porn star to writing and directing. He asked about the business aspects. Are there unions? Do you get residuals? How are people paid? Do you get health care? What's about testing? Are you worried about STDs? She recalls. He was very interested in a lot of the business aspects, which I thought was very cool. She says other people just want to know about the sex stuff, the sexy stuff, the dirty stuff. They want to know the salacious details. These were very well thought out. These were very thought out business questions. Daniel says that while talking to Trump in the hotel, she volunteered that she had not tested positive for STDs. Daniel says she chose to work for the adult company Wicked Pictures because it has a condom mandatory company. At the time, you had to be tested every 30 days. Even when I worked with my husband, I had to use a condom, even though I'm allergic to condoms, latex. Daniel shrugs as she mentioned she had a very brief conversation with Trump about his wife Melania. She says she asked Trump about Melania and told him she was very beautiful. She recalls Trump saying we don't sleep in the same room. I don't believe you, lady. Come on, does this ain't sound like any true? Like, if just take out the hate boner for Trump you have. Does any of this really ring true to you? Trump closed his eyes, shook his head, and murmured to his attorney at the defense table as she said this. Okay, Daniel said she really wanted to ask Trump about pro wrestling when they met. He was friends with the owner of the company, Vince McMahon. She said she laughed on the stand as she recalls comparing the adult film industry to wrestling, like World Wrestling Entertainment, WWE. It's real, but it's not. Daniels recalls that Trump was at the time involved in a bet with McMahon where if he lost, he would have to shave his head. Trump had always been very famous for his do, but she says, but he assured her it was all predetermined. Trump is slumped in his chair. Trump showed Daniels' magazine cover, which he was pictured on, and testified she told him she hadn't seen it. Bullshit, lady. Not like I made a habit of reading financial magazines as a 27-year-old. She says on the stand. Daniel says she snapped at him. Are you always this rude? Are you always this arrogant and pompous? You don't even know how to have a conversation, she recalls. She testified she spanked him on the magazine right on the butt. Come on. Seriously. Does this really sound true? No, none of this happened. You know none of this happened. We all know none of this happened. Come on, this is complete and utter bullshit. She didn't say any of this. If this conversation even happened, she didn't say any of this. This is completely made up. Testimony has now turned the possibility of Daniels being on The Celebrity Apprentice. Daniels recalled Trump told her that she should go on his television show. I said, even you don't have this much power, he said. You remind me of my daughter because she's smart, blonde, and beautiful, and people underestimate her. The way he framed it, it did actually make perfect sense, Daniels said. She recalled being concerned that she couldn't win and that would hurt her image and the stereotype she felt she represented. What if I lost on the first episode? She recalled. Trump then suggested he could tell her the challenges ahead of time, she says. Daniels is describing her mindset at the time, saying she has nothing against the adult entertainment industry. I have no shame. That's who I am. But I wanted to direct others bigger things. Daniels said she called one of her friends from Trump's room, putting her friend on speaker. Which was who? Who? Daniels says she had Trump talked for about 2 hours. She and Trump talked for a few hours. Did you sense any red flags or concerns about being there? Hoffinger asked. No, Daniels says. Court takes a short break. What is this idiot? All right, Daniels in her testimony alluded to how Trump's status compared to hers created an intimidating power dynamic. CNN chief legal correspondent Paula Reed said. Daniels explains how the hotel was bigger than hers by past 3 houses. She also testified that she came from a poor background, which added the asymmetrical power dynamic between the two, Reed noted. Yeah. Also, she said that, she confronted him and snapped at him, saying he was rude and arrogant and pompous. You don't even know how to conversate. She was so intimidated by her by Trump, but she was still managed to be, courageous enough to ask these questions. Are you always rude? Are you always this arrogant and pompous? And you don't even know how to conversation, and it smacked him in the magazine right on his butt. Come on. It's complete bullshit. Back in session. Judge says Ross Gersey thinks the degree of detail we're going into here is just unnecessary. When she comes back on the stand, we can move it along more quickly, Merchant says, referring to when Daniels takes the stand again. Daniels is back on the stand. Questioning is picking back up with the hotel interaction between Daniels and Trump. She said she drank a couple bottles of water while they were talking, noting that's all they were drinking. Daniels is testifying about visiting Trump's hotel room and then going into the bathroom to call a friend. She said the call was going straight to voicemail. How convenient. Okay, so while in the bathroom, she looked through his toiletry bag. There was a leathery-looking toiletry bag on the counter with product and stuff in it. Daniel says, I did look, and I'm not proud of it, Daniel says, adding, I wonder what's in here, she continues. So the toiletries were Old Spice and Pert Plus, though I thought it was amusing and odd. She added there was also a golden manicure. What's Pert Plus? I have no idea. Oh, okay. So it's a dandruff shampoo. Okay. Let's see. Mr. Trump had come into the bedroom and was on the bed, she says, adding that he was wearing boxers and a t-shirt. Daniel says she felt like the room spun in slow motion when she left the bathroom. Felt the blood leave my hands and feet, almost like if you stand up too fast, Daniel says. I thought, oh my God, what did I misread to get here? At first, I was just startled, like a jump scare. I wasn't expecting someone to be there, especially minus a lot of clothes. She says of Trump, who she says was sitting in the bed in boxers and a t-shirt. The intention was pretty clear. Someone strips down to the underwear and is posing for you, Daniel testified. He stood up between me and the door, not in a threatening manner. He didn't come at me. He didn't rush me. Nothing like that, Daniel says. When I exited, he was just up on the bed like this, she said, lifting her leg from the chair. Daniel says she's not threatened, but Trump was physically larger. There's an imbalance of power for sure. He was bigger and blocking the way. I was not threatened verbally or physically, Daniel says. Daniels estimated Trump was definitely several inches taller and much larger, putting her hand above her head to measure. Yeah, but you weren't scared to call him pompous and arrogant and say he couldn't have a conversation and then assault him with a magazine. You weren't threatened then, but now all of a sudden he has less clothes and now you're threatened. Come on. Daniels is describing what happened next to in the hotel room. Fuck how. Okay, whatever. I had my clothes and shoes off. I removed my bra. We were in the missionary position. I asked if she remembers how her clothes came off. She says no. Next thing I know, I was on the bed, she testified. Hoffinger is trying to elicit more details, but the objections are sustained. Really? All right, she's so intimidating, so scared, so... But then she willingly takes off her clothes and shoes and removes her bra and gets in the missionary position. Oh, conveniently, she doesn't remember what happened. How the clothes came off. Just that she was on the bed. Come on. This is complete and utter bullshit. Daniel says she remembers sitting at the end of the bed. She says it was really hard to get my shoes on because my hands were shaking so hard. I just left as fast as I could. That was it, she says. Daniels testified that Trump did not express concern about his wife Melania when they had the encounter. Daniels confirmed she also didn't ask her to keep it confidential. Told very few people that we actually had sex because I felt ashamed that I didn't stop it, Daniels said. Let's see. Trump has gestured to his attorney Nichols and tapped her on her arm, prompting her to object a few times during Daniels' testimony about her memory. He is engaged with the defense as Daniels' direct examination continues. Hoffinger tried to ask Daniels about her memory, leading to an objection by attorney Nichols. Judge asked him to come to the bench. Hoffinger had asked if there were things she remembered later about the encounter. So, did you see Trump again the next day? So I guess the objection was sustained because they moved on. Prosecutors Hoffinger asked, moving on from questions about Daniels' memory of the encounter. Yes, Daniels says. Daniels testified she met Trump at a nightclub the next day. His bodyguard, Schuyler, asked her and asked if she would meet with Trump again, and she agreed because it was public. Oh, okay, sure. Trump was at a table with Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Ben Roethlisberger. When she approached him, she introduced me as his little friend Stormy to Big Ben, she said. Daniels confirmed he addressed the football player as Big Ben. During the meeting with Trump at the nightclub, Daniels says that she convinced two-time Super Bowl champion Ben, I'm just calling him Ben, to let her try on his Super Bowl ring. Trump had been at the table with Ben when she approached them. Okay. Daniels said she told her friend Keith about the encounter. He was a photographer, and she rented her house from him, describing him as a close friend. She then went on to list several other friends she had told. I told lots and lots of people that I had gone into his room and met him. It wasn't a secret at all. The sex part I told very, few very close people. What is this? Come on. So she has this encounter. She's very ashamed, very it's terrible, it's horrible. But now she willingly goes sees him in a nightclub, and then she speaks to him often after the hotel encounter. What the fuck? Daniels says in the weeks after they met, she began speaking with Trump often, at times once a week. I'd always put him on the speakerphone, she says, noting that dozens and dozens of people heard her on the phone with Trump. She added that she didn't tell him he was on speakerphone. Daniels also noted that Trump called her honey bunch, which she said was weird. Okay, all right, sure. When asked why she continued to speak to Trump after meeting him, she testified, my publicist thought it was a good idea to continue the conversation with him about the television show. Okay, yeah, sure. All right, cool. A judge interjected as Daniels started off on a tangent about her publicist, saying it was good she had dinner with Trump. Merchant told Daniels to listen to the question and answer the questions. Let's see. Trump gave Daniels his assistant Graf phone number around the summer of 06. Daniels says she recalled writing on a piece of paper on her bed. Hold on. Getting a little warm in here. And then later entering it in her phone. The jury is shown a contact of Daniels' phone. It is D. Trump Rana, reference to Grafe. Daniels met with Trump in 07 at the launch of his Trump vodka brand, she testified. Daniels said she agreed to meet Trump for the same reasons. I wanted to maintain a sort of relationship because the chance to be on The Apprentice was still up in the air. It would have been a great thing. It was a public place. Sure. Daniels said that she met Trump at his VIP event. He leaned over, gave me a kiss, and shook my friend's hand, she said. Daniels said there were hundreds of people were at the event. And no one knew about this until 2016. Okay. At Trump's vodka launch party, Daniels says Trump introduced her to his friend Karen. She later learned it was Karen McDougal, she testified. Daniels says that at 07, Trump asked if she had plans that night. She says she lied and told him she and her friends were flying out on a girls' trip that night. Let's see. Trump invited her to meet with him on Trump Tower. Daniels says she was in New York City for something else at the time. She says so she didn't fly to New York to meet Trump. She says she also invited Trump to come to a show where she was performing. It was public place, lots of witnesses, Daniels said. Daniels says when she arrived at Trump Tower, she met with Grafe, and she and her assistant were brought into his office. The meeting was very fast, she says. Trump told her again, I'm still working on The Apprentice thing. I got some pushback. I pushed back. Daniels said that Trump invited her and her assistant to an upcoming pageant he was involved in and gave her tickets to attend. She confirmed she attended to Miss USA pageant in Hollywood. Daniels is recalling that the time she met with Trump, including seeing him again in the summer of 07 in Los Angeles, came together the same way it always did. He called from a New York number or Keith's number or Graf's. She said, adding that he said he had it almost sorted out for the show, something he said every time he called to get together with her. Daniels is testifying she met with Trump along with her publicist, whom she was dating at the time. Had you told your boyfriend at the time what exactly happened at the hotel room at that point? Hoffinger asked. Not the sexual part, Daniels says. When asked why not, Daniels says because I was ashamed. But you're not ashamed to, continue to meet up with him and hopefully get a spot on his show. Which, if you get a spot on his show and you're gonna want to actually do good, odds are he would try to continue to have sex with you. But okay. Daniels says she went to meet Trump at his bungalow in Beverly Hills Hotel while his boyfriend, was also her publicist, waited outside. When she left, Daniels says that Trump told her he wanted to get together again, miss you, the usual. Okay, When asked again if Trump told her to keep it confidential or seemed like he wanted to hide the relationship, Daniels said absolutely not. Daniels said she did not see Trump in person again after this meeting at the Beverly Hills Hotel. He eventually called to tell her he's been overruled and couldn't get her on The Apprentice. He stopped taking his calls after that, except one time when he called her to tell her he didn't know former adult star Janet Jameson would be on The Apprentice. She said he thought she'd be mad. I didn't care, she said on the stand. That was the last time she said she spoke to Trump. Okay, yeah, sure, okay. Daniels is now describing how she ended up doing an interview with In Touch Weekly magazine. Trump yawned as she explained she was supposed to be paid $15,000 for the article. In Touch never ran the story in 11. Daniels said she was approached by a man in a parking lot in a shopping center in Las Vegas in 2011. She was with her infant to go to a Mommy and Me class. He approached me and threatened me not to continue to tell my story, Daniels said. Daniels said she was scared. She confirmed she didn't tell law enforcement and didn't tell her daughter's father about the threatening interaction in the parking lot. She never told him about the original encounter with Trump either. Okay, so the only way we know this happened or can, try and verify this happened is because that's what Daniels said. Hoffinger is asking Daniels about the 11dirty.com post. Daniels said she never heard of the website and she wanted the post taken down. She said she was told about the post from Gina Rodriguez. She said she was concerned about it because she had been threatened. Very much so. I had been threatened. I didn't want the person who threatened me and my baby thinking I had done it, Daniels says. Keith Davidson helped them get the post removed. Daniels confirmed this is consistent with Davidson's testimony early in the trial. Hoffinger asked if Davidson was successful at removing the post. She testified, I assumed so because it came down. After Trump began running for president in 2015, Daniels confirmed that her publicist, Rodriguez, reached out and said she could sell the story of Daniels' affair with Trump. Daniels says lots of people reached out to her. But before the Access Hollywood tape came out, Rodriguez was not successful in selling the story, she says. After the Access Hollywood tapes came out, Daniels says says she had a conversation with then publicist Rodriguez about selling her story. She started to describe the conversation, but the judge sustained an objection to the answer. Daniels is testifying that in 2016, her then publicist Gina Rodriguez focused was to sell her story to news outlets. Actis asked if she thought about approaching Trump himself or Conan to have them pay for the story. Daniels says, no, my motivation wasn't money. It was to get the story out, she says. But then you sold it to Conan so the story wouldn't get out. What the fuck? Bullshit. Daniels said she learned from Rodriguez that Trump and Conan were interested in buying her story. She learned of this in October after the Access Hollywood tape, Daniels says. They were interested in paying for the story, Daniels says, of Conan and Trump, which is the best thing that could have happened because then I'd be safe and the story wouldn't come out, she testified. Hold on. So first, she didn't want the money. She wanted the story to get out. Now, she doesn't want the story to come out. Very contradictory. She's describing a shift in her motivations. When she first agreed to have Rodriguez sell her story in 2015, it was to get the story out. But when she got an offer from Trump and Conan, she said she decided that was best. She is still citing the threat of the Las Vegas man who threatened her in the parking lot. The mysterious man that no one can corroborate. And she didn't even call the police for her. Interesting. Daniels says that Trump and Conan offered her $130,000, but I didn't care about the amount. Okay, sure you didn't. She says, adding at the time, her financial situation was the best it ever been. You know, if you didn't really care about the amount, if you really didn't care about the amount, you would have sold it for free and been like, I'll sell it to you for free. I'll put it on non-disclosure. I'll sign a non-disclosure agreement, and we will call it good, and you will never have to worry about me again. If you really didn't care about the amount, don't fucking lie to me. All right. She says the agreement was a non-disclosure agreement and that Trump was the beneficiary of the NDA. Hoffinger is having Daniels read the side letter agreement emailed her then attorney Davidson sent to Conan on October 11, 2016. Jury saw this email during Davidson's testimony. Daniels is asked if she wanted the story out by October 14th, which was the deadline in the email. The email expressed dissatisfaction of funding the agreement. Daniels says she wanted the agreement done quickly because she was concerned about the threat of the Las Vegas man. Hold on. So she was very concerned about this threat, this so-called threat. Very concerned about this threat, okay? But this threat happened in 2011. It's been 5 years, and there has yet to be another threat. So you're so terrified of this so-called threat, but you haven't had another threat in 5 years. Even prior, when you were trying to sell this story, didn't have a fear of threat then. Okay, your publicist was trying to sell your story. Okay, and you didn't approach Trump or Conan because you wanted the money to get out. Like, you didn't want the money, you just wanted the story to get out. But then Conan and Trump approached you to buy your story, according to you, and now you're like, all right, well, now I'll sell it to you. Like, this doesn't make it add up, right? Like, okay, that's fast action for funding the agreement. Daniel says, Las Vegas man. Absolutely, Daniel says, if it wasn't done before the election, he would be safe, or that he wouldn't pay, and there would be a trail to keep me safe. Okay, what a bullshit lie. Daniels then now explained the side letter agreement that used fake names: Peggy Peterson for Daniels, David Dennison for Trump. Daniels says she signed Stephanie Clifford under the line Peterson, a.k.a. Stephanie Gregory Clifford, a.k.a. Daniels. Remembering Stephanie Clifford. Stephanie Clifford is her real name. But I thought she preferred Daniels, so why would she write the name Stephanie Clifford? Because before she says, I prefer Stormy Daniels. The side letter agreement has previously been shown during her former lawyer Davidson's testimony. The agreement includes a handwritten list of 9 people of people Daniels told about the encounter. Daniels confirmed she wrote the list in 2 hours. Let's see. Daniels says she was not paid on October 14th like she was supposed to. I didn't know why it was late. He just kept making excuses. Hoffinger asked who was making excuses. Trump to Conan to Davidson. You don't know that it was from Trump. You just know it's from Conan to Davidson. That should have been an objection right there. It wasn't a financial delay, so it made me more concerned that something bad was going to happen. If it wasn't done before the election, it was never going to happen. What the fuck? If something bad was going to happen, it would have happened during the negotiations. This is complete and utter bullshit. Man, she is ugly as fuck. That's what happens when you get into porn, lady. You end up, ladies, shit ends up going downhill for you. Judge is back. We move for a mess trial based on testimony of this witness, said Trump's attorney Blanche, says following this morning testimony from Daniels. He says the court set guardrails and her testimony went over them. A lot of the testimony that this witness talked about is way different than the story she was peddling in 2016, Blanche says. In his argument for a mistrial, Blanche says the defense attorneys can't think of a way to properly remedy this testimony Daniels gave the jury this morning. A lot of the testimony this witness talked about today is way different than the story she was peddling in 2016, she says. Blanche is raising part of her testimony, including that she said she blacked out, didn't wear a condom when one was required by her employer, the body art outside, her height difference, the power dynamics. Blanche says Daniels repeatedly testified about purported meetings with Trump, and with every single one she qualified, it was in an open place, a public place. What's the jury to do with that, he asked. Blanche says there's no other reason for prosecutors to elicit the testimony beyond to cause Trump embarrassment. It's so prejudicial in a case about an NDA and whether there were false records at the Trump organization, Blanche says. Blanche says Daniels is telling us a different story. She talks about a consensual encounter with Trump that she was trying to sell, and that's not the story she told today. She says that Trump was aware that there would be an issue establishing guardrails for the testimony, but now we've heard it, and it's an issue. How can you unring the bell, Blanche says. Hoffinger said Daniels' testimony is highly probative of defendant's intent and Trump's motive for paying this off. This is not a new account, but it's a different one from one she was peddling from 2016. Blanche is saying we believe regrettably that there should be a mistrial and that Daniels' testimony in a new trial should be excluded or limited. Blanche is arguing that Daniels' testimony makes it impossible to come back from. This is the kind of testimony that makes it impossible to come back from, not even talking about the fact that we're talking about someone who's going out and campaigning this afternoon. Blanche says, this has nothing to do with the reason we're here, Your Honor. She testified today about consent, about danger, and that's not the story she was peddling. Sorry, that's not the story she was selling at the time of the non-disclosure agreement, Blanche says. Blanche knows the media outlets were already reporting at lunch about Daniels' narrative questioning consent. Hoffinger says Daniels' testimony was necessary to show Trump's motivation for the hush money scheme and cover-up. But he's not charged with that. He's charged with falsifying business records. He's not charged with providing hush money. He's charged with falsifying business records. Daniels' salacious story is precisely what the defendant did not want to become public, she says. Hoffinger says Trump's team opened the door to this by introducing into evidence a text message that referenced the threat Daniels said she received in 2011. It was incumbent on us to bring out the details in the direct to rehabilitate her testimony after the defense attacked her credibility with a previous witness, Davidson. Hoffinger says the prosecution was extremely mindful not to elicit too much details about the initial act. Hoffinger says the defense statement that this is an entirely new story is not accurate. At the end of the day, Your Honor, this is what the defendant was trying to hide in terms of the payoff in 2016 before the election, Hoffinger says. Blanche responds, that's missing the point. The point of the argument is the reason why this evidence in theory is admissible over our objection is because there are theories, the facts presented to Davidson and Conan, so they would evaluate whether to enter into an NDA, and supposedly the facts and details to be kept from the American people in 2016. Hoffinger says that the story Daniels told is an exhibit, if you would, of what Mr. Trump didn't want to get disclosed. Hoffinger says they'd be fine with limited instructions to the jury, but this testimony from Daniels was necessary to speak to her credibility. I wouldn't say it was very credible, honestly. If any rational person heard this, doesn't believe a word she fucking just said. I don't think anybody can listen to what this witness says, think that has anything to do with the charges, and the entire testimony is so prejudicial that you run the high risk of the jury not being able to focus on the evidence that actually does matter, he says. True. Judge says, as a threshold matter, I agree, Mr. Blanche. There were some things that probably would have been better left unsaid. Then why didn't you stop them, Judge? Having said that, I don't believe we're at the point where a mistrial is warranted. Judge in denying the mistrial acknowledges Daniels was difficult to control and some questions didn't need to be asked. Whether these are new stories or not new stories, the remedy is on cross-examination. Merchant says, noting that he objected himself when he felt the defense hadn't. Let me just explain this. 9 times out of 10, mistrials are going to be denied. Ever. Also says he was surprised there weren't more objections from Trump's team during the Daniels testimony. The defense has to take some responsibility for that. I agree with that. You should definitely be objecting to as much as you can when things are going off the rails. When you say the bill has been wrong, the defense has to take some responsibility for that. Merchant add, referring to Blanche's argument for a mistrial in which how do you unrung this bill? Judge reiterates that he will give a limiting instruction to the jury about Daniel's testimony of being threatened in 2011. Nichols tells Judge that once he signaled he thought Daniel's testimony had gone too far, the defense started to consistently object. But up until that point, we really felt Your Honor had ruled at the bench they were allowed to do what they were doing. Merchant respond, I think that I signaled to you and the prosecution that we were going into way too much detail. Lawyers are hashing out language for limited instructions to the jury. Blanchstein. Judge says says it will take more time to hash out the language of limiting instructions. With consent of the defense counsel, Hoffinger stepped out to give instructions to the witness to stay focused while answering questions, Merchant says, referring to Daniels. She's back in the stand. The prosecutors began with a question to Daniels about delays in promised payment from Conan to 2016. Hoffinger is asking Daniels to read an email her then attorney Keith Davidson sent Michael Conan on October 17, 2016. The email demands payment by 5 p.m. PST that day. Jurors say saw this email during Davidson's testimony. Daniels says she authorized Davidson to cancel the deal because the funds hadn't been sent. In the email, Davidson told Conan that his client deemed the settlement deal canceled and that Davidson no longer represented her. Daniels is now describing how the deal was revived, saying she signed a new non-disclosure agreement with the date change. She signed the NDA and cited a letter on October 28, 2016. She says the side agreement says that Trump is referred to as David Dennison. Daniels confirmed she understood that agreement to be with Trump. Daniels testified she signed the new hush money deal. After attorney Davidson and her agent Rodriguez took their fees, she ended up with approximately $96K, she said. Jury is being shown the November 4th, 2016 Wall Street Journal story about American Media Inc. catching kill deals involving Daniels and McDougal. Before the articles came out, WSJ reporters reached out to Daniels for comment. She said she didn't respond because it had an NDA. Daniels said 2016 was her best year ever as she rattled off several highlights from that year. Let's see. Daniels says Wall Street Journal reporters reached out to her again in 2017 as they were about to publish a story about her $130K payment. Daniels says she didn't respond to him because she was under an NDA. I was respecting it and didn't want to commit, she says, to comment, even though she ended up breaking it. Daniels is now addressing the January 10th, 2018 statement denying the sexual encounter with Trump. Daniels said she didn't want to sign it because it wasn't true. She said she was asked if it was not true in details. Correct, Daniels says. After the Wall Street Journal ran on January 12th, 2018, Daniels said her life turned out into chaos. Suddenly, I was front and foremost everywhere. She says people on the front lawn blew my cover, I guess for a lack of better way of explaining it, she says. Hoffinger is now focusing her questioning on Jimmy Kimmel's show. I did not want to discuss the relationship or NDA. It was to give an example of how I could go on and do promotions and things and not break the NDA. Daniels recounts how she met with Davidson and others in her hotel room before the show. Daniels recounted, looking at her January 30th, 2018 statement denying sexual encounter, she said it was handed to her by Davidson while she was getting ready for the show. Daniels said she signed Stormy Daniels in a way she had never signed her name before as a tip-off to Kimmel. Daniels said that was false. So you didn't want to break the NDA, but you did want to break the NDA. What the fuck is this? After the publication of Wall Street Journal article on January 12, 2018, In Touch Weekly published a story about her interview from 2011. Stormy Daniels says she didn't want it out there and she didn't get paid for it in 2018 as she was originally promised. Daniels testified earlier today. She described doing an interview with Celebrity Gossip magazine. Supposed to be that was when she was supposed to be paid with $15,000. Daniels said she was hired by Avenatti. She hired Michael Avenatti to get her out of her non-disclosure agreement so I could stand up for myself. Oh, you mean, yeah, okay. Stand up for yourself. You mean to go and profit? Daniels testified that Conan, in February 2018, was publicly saying she had a relationship with Trump and he was the fixer. She used air quotes and shrugged as she said, fixer. Trump shook his head, then commented to his attorney reacting to this. Prosecutors asking Daniels about statements made by Conan. Daniels was asked whether certain public statements upset her. Yes. Daniels says he could talk about it. I couldn't. Well, that's what happens when you sign an NDA. It's shocking. Daniels said she went on 60 Minutes to speak with Anderson Cooper to get my story out. But you were under an NDA. Before her 60 Minutes appearance, Avenatti filed a lawsuit in March 2018 trying to get Daniels out of the NDA with Donald Trump. By the fall of 2018, Conan and Trump agreed not to enforce the NDA, Stormy Daniels confirms. So you say, you mean. Daniels says she published a book about being free of the NDA, titled Full Disclosure. She says the book is about her life, including some descriptions of Trump. Hovinger asked whether Daniels included every detail of what occurred in the room with Donald Trump. No, not every detail, no. Daniels said she wrote the book so that my daughter would have an account of her mother's own words about what I had been through and the reason why I did the things I did. Prosecutors are now jumping back in April 2018 when Avenatti filed a defamation lawsuit against Donald Trump. Daniels said she did not want Avenatti to file a defamation case against Trump on her behalf. It just seemed really risky, Daniels testified. Daniels added the defamation lawsuit didn't feel like it was something that could have been won, and it didn't seem worth it. Daniels gave a nod to the litigation around her book with Avenatti. I found out later Avenatti did some editing as well, Daniels said about her book. Daniels, the defamation claim had to do with a tweet from Trump calling a sketch of a man Daniels said threatened her in the parking lot, a con job, and nothing to do with the sexual encounter or payoff. Daniels says she knew she did the 60 Minutes interview despite understanding there was a risk of violating that NDA. Stormy Daniels asked whether Michael Avenatti is still her lawyer. No, Daniels said with emphasis, because I fired him, and later he was found guilty of stealing from not just myself, but several other clients. He was disbarred and is in prison, she adds with a smirk. Daniels says she has not yet paid all the legal fees the court says she owes Trump. She says she has not paid him because she did not have the means and she did not think it was fair. Oh, but you broke the NDA, so it is fair. Hovinger is asking Daniels why she went on Conan's Mea Culpa podcast because I wanted him to apologize to me. Daniels says, asked if Conan apologized, Daniels says he did. Asked why she went on Conan's podcast again, Daniels says because we had a good rapport. He wanted to ask specific questions about the Avenatti case. Daniels says she was not paid to appear or participate in her documentary called Stormy, but the production company paid her $125,000 for the licensing rights to her material and books. She said she's been paid $100,000 so far. Daniels says she started on the documentary in 2018 before she was subpoenaed in this case. When asked why she did the documentary, she said to get the truth out, same as the book. She added an updated account. Let's see. Daniels says Trump called her sleazebag and horseface multiple times. I see why. Prosecutors has displayed Trump's horseface case posts of Truth Social from March 15, 2023. He's now reading Trump's post aloud. Trump says the post, in which the former president says she hadn't seen or spoken to Daniels since a photo of golf course 18 years ago, is false because I met him numerous times after that and spoke to him on the phone countless times. According to you, what proof do you have that you have done that? All right, so Nichols is beginning the cross-examination of Daniels. Good morning, Miss Daniels, Nichols says. Nichols started her cross-examination by asking Daniels, "You rehearsed your story here, right?" No, Daniels said. Nichols is reading Daniels' words back to her. "You agreed you were subject to grueling prep sessions, which include brutal mock cross-examinations." Daniels is raising her voice. "It is not rehearsing my testimony." Daniels asked whether she was untruthful when she says she was a subject. Whether she was untruthful when she says she was subjected to mock cross-examination. I was incorrect. I did not know what true court would be like. Daniels says, "What?" She says on the stand what the prep sessions were difficult because it was painful to discuss her memories. What the fuck? Daniels just leaned over the witness box and asked the court reporter if it was better for her to court reporter, as she said she was trying to talk slower for her. The hell? Am I correct that you hate President Trump? Nichols asked Daniels. Yes, Daniels says. Nichols then asks if she wants Trump to go to jail. I want him to be held accountable, she says. For what? You want him to go to jail? Nichols asked again. If he's found guilty, yes, Daniels said. Nichols is challenging Daniels on her tweets about Trump this case. Nichols asked Daniels about the tweet she sent saying she would dance if Trump is selected to go to jail. Daniels laughed as she looked at the tweet. Daniels is mincing words with Nichols. She says it's because the word selected. Isn't it? It isn't because you think this is funny at all. Nichols asked. No, Daniels says. Daniels pushed back about the outcome of the defamation case with Donald Trump. He prevailed, but I was not found to have lost. What? Nichols confirms with Daniels, however, that Trump was awarded roughly $500,000 in legal fees after the case was dismissed. Nichols re-asked the question, confirming Daniels owes the former President Trump about $560,000 in legal fees. And she says that in California, there's a 10% interest that accrues. You didn't take any money out of your pocket and pay it to Trump, did you? Nichols asked. No, Daniels says. You have money, right? Nichols asked. You're choosing not to pay President Trump, right? The attorney asks. Daniels concedes, I've chosen not to pay while it's still pending, yes. Well, what is still pending? Nichols is asking Daniels about the March 2022 tweet in which she wrote, I will go to jail before I pay a penny. Correct, Daniels says. You tweeted, I will go to jail before I pay a penny. Nichols asked Daniels. Prosecutors object to introducing the tweet into evidence. They're at the bench. She posted this around the time the Court of Appeals ordered her to pay legal fees to Trump. This is me saying I will not pay for telling the truth. My motivation was because I was telling the truth. Okay, sure. Daniels confirmed she was aware that there is a case against her in Florida in which Trump is trying to collect the legal fees. Nichols noted there are 3 court orders ordering Daniels to pay the former president. She asked if she cares about the court order. Of course I care, she responds. You're not going to do it, right? Nichols then asked. Daniels replied, I don't know. Daniels was next asked about another tweet about Trump in 2022, where she said, I'll never give the orange turd a dime. Daniels says the tweet is in retaliation for what he said to me. Yes. Nichols confirmed you called him names all the time. Yes, because he made fun of you first, she added. One of you started, but you both continued it, right? Nichols asked. Correct, Daniels said. Oh, that's interesting. So Daniels is sitting with her arms crossed, which is a defensive pose. It's interesting. Daniels appears tense as she answers questions from Trump's legal team. It is a noticeable shift from the casual conversational tone she had during direct examination with prosecutors earlier. At one point, the judge sustained an objection to a question from Nichols. Daniels shook her head. Nichols is trying to get into evidence a form partly filled out that asks for details about Daniels' finances. It is a form she is required to fill out describing her assets. Daniels said publicly in interviews, including with Jeff Toobin, that she wouldn't fill it out. She'd go to jail before filling it out. Now on the stand, Daniels says she wouldn't fill it out because it asked questions about her daughter. Nichols asked her to confirm the form only asked for her daughter's name. Daniels says she didn't. No, she didn't know. Okay, hold on. So she wasn't gonna fill it out. She wouldn't fill it out. Now she says she wouldn't fill it out because it asked questions about her daughter, and the form only asked about her daughter's name, but she didn't know. So you're not going to fill it out because it asks questions about your daughter, but you don't know what it actually asks? Okay. After a brief trip by the attorney to the bench, Nichols confirmed that Daniels didn't fill out her spouse's income on the form. I won't fill out information that endangers my family or my daughter, Daniels says. Nichols then asks, do you have bank accounts? Yes. Did you fill that? Did you tell that on the form? I didn't fill out this form. Daniels says the form went to her attorney who's been handling it and she didn't send it to her to sign. The questions remain focused on Daniels' finances. Is it true that you've been hiding your assets because you don't want to pay the judgment against you? Nichols asked. No, Daniels says. Daniels also denied setting up a trust for her daughter. Isn't it true that you hope that if Trump is convicted, you'll never have to pay him? Nichols asked Daniels, referring to the legal fees Daniels owes Trump. I hope I don't have to pay him no matter what happens, Daniels says. Sure. Nichols is questioning Daniels about her finances related to Trump. You've been making money by claiming to have sex with Trump for more than a decade, Nichols asked. I've been making money by telling my story about what happened to me. The story has made you a lot of money, right? Nichols asked. It also cost me a lot of money, Daniels says. Well, when you lie, that's what happens. Nichols says asked Daniels about whether she spoke to attorney Gloria Allred in 2011 about whether she could sue Trump for money. After a pause, Daniels testified, I don't remember what was talked about in that conversation. I also told her I had sex with Trump. Her talent manager at the time, who also brought the story to TMI, arranged the conversation with Allred in 2011, she says. So they're showing Daniels' book, Full Disclosure. Nichols is confronting Daniels with a document, which is a page from her book, Full Disclosure. You told Gloria Allred that you did not have sex with Trump. Nichols asks, no, I did not say that. I said that I did, Daniels says. They then show Daniels the document. Trump is leaning forward to read it on his monitor. Yes, during the phone conversation. When I met her in person later, I told her everything. Daniels says. Nichols suggests Daniels making this up as she's sitting here on the stand. I mean, it's kind of funny. It's kind of fucking seems like. In her book, Full Disclosure, Daniels wrote that she told an extremely abbreviated version of her story in a phone conversation with Gloria Allred and left out details about sex with Trump. I did not tell her all the sex details. I did not trust her. She wanted me to accuse him of force, basically rape. I did not want to continue that conversation, Daniels says. Nichols suggests Daniels is making this up as she sits on the stand. Daniel shoots her a look, cocking her head, and says no. Why? Why isn't this on? Why isn't this like for me to view live? Why can't I be watching this live? Ah! Ah! In a statement Tuesday evening to CNN, Allred cited attorney-client privilege in the case of Stormy Daniels, but also defended her, saying there are no circumstances in which I have ever advised a client or potential client to make false allegations. But why can't this be on television? Why isn't this being like? Why are we having to? This is just a moment in gold, and we're not able to watch this live. This is bullshit. Nichols suggests Daniels had to talk about her sexual encounter with President Trump to make money. Or just Trump, actually. It taught you if you want to make money about Trump, you better talk about sex, Nichols asked. No, although it does seem to be the case, sadly, Daniels says. You learned that, did you not, that a story about Trump that doesn't include sex will make you no money, right? It taught me that I should tell the truth and not trust people. I did not think I should trust, Daniels says. That makes no sense. Let's see. Nichols asked Daniels whether she told E! Online in 2011 that the story about her having sex with Trump was bullshit. Daniels responds she was asked what I thought about all this stuff, and I thought it was bullshit. She paused before softly using the expletive. She says the assessment did not refer to having sex, but to the story. Nichols pushed back by asking whether if her assessment was based on who paid her money. She acknowledged when asked by Nichols that this was at the same time she was trying to sell her story to In Touch for $15K. Defending her motivations, Daniels says with a shrug, I did 60 minutes with Anderson Cooper and they gave me 0. Nichols responds, we'll get to that. This is why it's very important to have a woman cross-examine a woman, especially, in this type of cases. She's really just kind of showing you what bullshit this person's. I wish we could be watching this, and not having to read, what CNN is feeding us, because I'm sure they're leaving out a lot of good stuff. Nichols is now asking Daniels about her statement about being threatened in 2011. Nichols asks if it's true that she didn't tell anyone about the supposed threat. Daniels says that she told her close friends. You didn't tell your husband, father of child? Nichols asked. Correct. Someone who is probably more at least the bare minimum, the second most important to tell. Actually, the most important to tell. You didn't tell them, but you told a bunch of close friends. Daniels is being asked about the time she was threatened by a man in Las Vegas. She confirmed she didn't tell anyone about the story until 2018 when she agreed it was probably in an interview with Anderson Cooper. I kept all of it secret from my husband, Daniels says. Your daughter's life was in jeopardy and you did not tell her father, Nichols asks. Right, Daniels replies. Not a good look for you, lady. What is my wife name? Let's see. Trump's attorney, Nichols, is drilling down on what Daniels did afterwards being threatened in 2011. Nichols is challenging Daniels with her own words in her book, Full Disclosure, in which she wrote that she did exercise classes after the man allegedly threatened her in the parking lot. Daniels says it was incorrect that she had suggested she went to her exercise class. She says she went into the bathroom with her daughter and lied, claiming her baby had a blowout. On the stand, she said, there's no way I could have possibly done this class as scared as I was. What? In her book, she says she did the exercise class. So you're getting two conflicting. Nichols is doing a great job just pointing out the inconsistencies in her story. Okay, in her book, she says, "Oh, I went to my exercise class," but on the stand, she's like, "No, I didn't really do that. I lied and said my daughter had a blowout." Nichols asked Daniels if she believed Conan sent the man in the garage, referring to the 2011 incident where Daniels says a man threatened her in the parking lot while she was on her way to a mommy and me class with her infant daughter. Daniels says that that's what she thought at the time, but she was wrong. Daniels now testifying that she told the story about her sexual encounter with Trump on a radio show in '07. Nichols clarifies that she wrote names down on a paper of famous people she slept with. Daniels says she mentioned Lake Tahoe, a hotel room, which was obviously about Trump. Oh, obviously. Nichols says asked Daniels whether she told Anderson Cooper, I never told this story publicly before because I was threatened. She says that's correct. Nichols continues to ask Daniels about her testimony that she was threatened in 2011 by a man in a parking lot. This man never existed, did he? Nichols asks. He absolutely existed, Daniels says. Nichols then asks if the story is made up. None of it's made up, Daniels says. Daniels says that Avenatti hired a sketch artist to recreate a mad description of the man and offered $100K to whoever identified him. Was he ever identified, though? There's an afternoon break. All right. All right. Nichols asked Daniels if she hated Conan when she made the allegations about the man threatening her in the car park. She added, now you're buddies. Daniels says she wouldn't call them buddies. Judge is back on the stand, and Daniels is back. Daniels is on the stand. Before the jury enters, attorney Nichols confirmed her cross-examination will continue into Thursday. Wednesday is an off day for the trial. Oh, sweet. So let's see. Thursday, I will have to figure out something to do. Merchant said the court will end at 4:30 p.m. today. Prosecutor Hoffinger says there will also be a redirect of Daniels. Oh, you have to. Nichols is absolutely destroying Daniels. Nichols is focusing again on the threats faced by Daniels. You had been told, don't talk anymore. So then you decided to sell your story. Nichols asked incredulously. Trump's attorney briefly returned to the Dirty.com story from 2011, asked whether Daniels authorized Davidson to have the story taken down. All I know is I wanted it down. She says, saying she never spoke to the gossip website about it. Daniels says, I was a much braver person in 2016 than I was in 2011. Nichols retorts that her story was worth a lot more in 2016 than 2011. I mean, that's a good point. Trump's attorney, Nichols, is again challenging Daniels on the time she planned a news conference in 2016, but never went through with it. You are looking to extort money from Trump? Nichols asks. False! Daniels says, raising her voice. That's what you did, right? Nichols follows up. False! Daniels says again. Let's see. Nichols is now asking Daniels about why she was going to sell her story if she was so afraid after being threatened. Nichols implies that Daniels wasn't really scared, knowing that after the supposed threat, Daniels decided to do the opposite. I was terrified, Daniels says. I just had to change my tactic because it was a new ballgame. Now Trump was a presidential candidate. She adds, the truth is you saw the opportunity to make money. I saw the opportunity to get the story out. I didn't put a price tag on it. You ended up doing that. It was $130K. What the fuck are you talking about? Yes, like, come on. Like, you know what? Bravo, Nichols. Bravo, Susan Nichols. Jury is now seeing text between Howard and Rodriguez from 2016. Howard wrote, I thought she'd announced it previously. Rodriguez responded. She said she'll do it under two conditions. Rodriguez responded. Rodriguez texted, "She doesn't want to go on record, but we'll tell the story through a source." She continued, "She had sex with him. She wants $100K. So, hold on. So, right here, I had to change she says, I saw the opportunity to get the story out. I didn't put a price tag on it. And then over here, her publicist is saying she wants $100K. So she did put a price tag on it. Nichols asked Daniels to confirm by this time that in 2016 that she previously denounced the allegations against Trump. Daniels says she doesn't know who Howard is. I don't know what this is in reference to, she says, of the text exchange. Daniels is being combative with these text messages, again complaining that she doesn't know the context of the messages. So judge has cut off Nichols and dismissed the jurors for the day. All right, let's call it a day, he says. So they're ending on that, and they're ending on, just this brutal cross-examination. And let's be honest, no one's believing this chick at this point. Okay, none of the juries are probably believing her. And they're ending it, and not only are they ending it on this day, they're also ending it, and it's going to carry on to Wednesday, and they're going to get more Thursday before they even come and get a redirect. Before this jury cut her off, Nichols asked Daniels whether the text message between her then agent Rodriguez and Howard of the National Enquirer showed that she was trying to sell her story. I was pushing. I wanted to tell my story. Yes, Daniels says, for $100K. Okay. Oh, this is interesting. So Judge Aileen Cannon has indefinitely postponed Trump's classified documents trial in Florida, citing significant issues around classified evidence that would need to be worked out before the federal criminal case goes to jury. In an order Tuesday, Cannon canceled the May trial date and did not set a new date. That's interesting. So that one's been postponed. Good. There's something interesting that happened. Hold on. During the mid-morning break, judge called defense attorney Blanche to the bench and ordered him to speak to Trump about his contemptuous behavior during Daniels' testimony Tuesday. I understand that your client is upset at this point, but he's cursing audibly and he's shaking his head visibly, and that's contemptuous, Merchant said to Blanche, according to the court transcript. It has the potential to intimidate the witness, and the jury can see that. Merch said he decided to speak to Blanche at the bench because he didn't want to embarrass Trump. You need to speak to him. I won't tolerate that, Merchant said. Blanche again said he would talk to Trump. So again, all those little ad libs about, now he's very subdued. He's all, very subdued now. Yeah, it's because his attorney talked to him, apparently. Okay. Then described Trump's inappropriate behavior. One time I noticed when Daniels was testifying about rolling up the magazine and presumably smacking your client, and after that point he shook his head, looked down, and later I think he was looking at you, Blanche. Later when we talked about the apprentice at the time, he again uttered a vulgarity and looked at you. This time, Merchant said. So, apparently Trump can't be frustrated. How dare Trump be frustrated? So there we go. That's day 13, I believe it is. Yeah, day 13 of the Trump trial. And again, it was a good way to end it. Nichols is really dismantling her Daniel's testimony and showing the contradictions. It's really ruining her credibility, and that credibility has been shot a lot. And now the jury not only has the rest of the at 4:30 p.m. today to mull over it. They also have Wednesday to mull over it, and then they have Thursday where they'll get more credibility taken down. So the prosecution is going to have a hard time redirecting because then they're going to have to rehabilitate her image. But it's kind of hard when you have hard proof of evidence of her saying one thing in a book And she's claiming she wants to tell her story, and now she's telling a fairly different story in court. So it'll be interesting how that goes. I'm looking forward to Thursday. Well, actually, it'll be Friday when I actually review it. I'll be looking forward to it. All right, so that's the end of it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, I'm doing this recording because I have to do some stuff tomorrow. So that's the unfortunate case. So make sure you check out the video. I hope you like it and subscribe. And yeah, hope you have a good day. Peace out. I will see you later. Peace.